Welcome back. Today we are embarking on into something seemingly simple, but actually incredibly revealing. It's the highly structured self-introduction. Detailed conversational exchange between two individuals, Reem and John. It was originally intended as, well, a foundational English learning guide.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Because on the surface, okay, this is just simple conversation practice. It's designed to get people fluent in talking about their own lives.
Right. Basic stuff.
But, when you actually force someone to structure their entire identity like this, their family, their professional goals, their learning strategies, even their relaxation habits, into these discrete answerable boxes,
What happened?
they end up creating a surprisingly comprehensive map, a map of their priorities. It's quite revealing.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Our mission here isn't just to, listen to their chat. We want to extract the core strategic knowledge from it. What does the selection of these specific details, everything from what they drink in the morning to the complexity of algorithms they're tackling, what does that tell us about how people define themselves today?
And how they manage the constant information torrent of the 21st century.
Yeah, and how they successfully approach something like lifelong learning. This isn't just personal trivia. It feels like it's potentially a blueprint for maybe resilience.
Precisely. Yeah, blueprint is a good word. We're essentially synthesizing these extremely diverse data points. We're comparing their views on, say, geography, their musical tastes, their future dreams.
All from this simple intro.
All from that intro. And we use it to build a more complete, maybe psychological profile of their priorities and, the forces that actually drive them.
So for you, the listener, this offers a powerful framework then.
We think so. By understanding how Reem and John structure their lives, even in just talking about them, you get a kind of template.
A template for what?
For communicating and structuring your own identity more effectively. Whether you're, say, interviewing for a job, networking, or maybe just setting some personal development goals.
I find it especially compelling because they're using this structured dialogue as a tool, really, for communication mastery itself.
That's the meta level, yeah.
So, okay, we've broken down their profiles into 4 essential categories that seem to emerge pretty naturally from their conversation.
Right.
First, the foundation. That's like who they are and where they are. Pretty basic. Second, the purpose. This covers their work and their study life. What they do.
What drives them professionally or academically.
Third, we're calling it the toolkit. This is all about their leisure and hobbies, how they relax, recharge.
The counterweights.
And finally, the horizon. This captures their long-term goals and dreams, where they're headed.
Where all this effort is pointed.
Okay, let's jump right into the basics then. Establishing their roots, the foundation. So, starting with the essential facts, we're looking at 2 pretty high-achieving young people here.
Seems so, yes.
We've got Reem, she's 24, based in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And then John, he's 26 and lives in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
Right away, that distance between them geographically, culturally, it sets up a really powerful contrast, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And what's truly revealing, I think, isn't just the location itself, but how each of them chooses to describe their home city.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, Reem describes Dhaka by highlighting its natural elements. She focuses on, and I quote, lots of rivers and greenery.
Rivers and greenery.
In Dhaka. Yeah. Which immediately suggests her priorities might be rooted in maybe tranquility, nature. She's emphasizing the environment's softer elements.
But wait a second. Dhaka is also, it's one of the most intensely populated, densely urban areas on the entire planet.
That's true. It's incredibly dense.
So I have to wonder, is her focus on rivers and greenery just a pure preference? Or is it maybe, perhaps, a necessary counter-strategy?
How do you mean?
Is she actively seeking out those little pockets of peace in nature as like a vital compensation mechanism, a way to balance out the chaos of intense urban density?
That's a really critical point, and I think it elevates the insight significantly. It's highly likely it is a form of, let's say, psychological prioritization in really high-pressure environments. The ability to mentally anchor yourself in something calm like nature, it becomes a key survival skill almost.
So she's defining her home not by its obvious challenges, but maybe by its moments of refuge.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now contrast that with John in Toronto.
Okay.
He describes Toronto simply as very large and diverse.
That's it.
Large and diverse.
Okay.
His defining characteristics are centered entirely on scale and social complexity. size, and multiculturalism.
Which interestingly aligns almost perfectly with his professional path, right? Which we'll get into later. His focus on communication, interacting with diverse students.
Good point. Exactly. He sees his environment, it seems, through a lens of human interaction and variety. Whereas Reem, she's prioritizing the natural infrastructure, the non-human elements.
So this subtly frames their perspectives from the get-go.
I think so. Reem finds her grounding perhaps in natural serenity. John finds his in human dynamism and, the breadth of experience available in a big city.
Okay, let's shift slightly to their immediate context language. This is interesting too. Reem is already trilingual. She speaks Bengali and Hindi plus English. And she's even expressed an interest in learning French down the line.
Wow, okay. Ambitious.
And John, he speaks English, obviously, and mentions a little French with an aspiration to learn Spanish someday.
So the simultaneous commitment to linguistic expansion on both sides, it really underscores, I think, the modern necessity of having these multi-tool communication skills. It's not just nice to have anymore.
It feels expected almost.
The ability to, code switch linguistically. It's now tied directly to things like global mobility, career potential. It's less a hobby, more an investment in your own market viability.
Right, an investment. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. Now, despite this vast geographical distance, the cultural differences we've touched on, we find one value that seems incredibly strong and shared between them.
And that is?
Family. They both seem really anchored by their siblings and parents.
Ah, okay. Tell me the specifics.
Reem has one older brother and one younger sister. John has two sisters, one older, one younger, no brothers.
And this comes through strongly in the source material.
Oh, absolutely. The consistent value placed on family time, on connection, it just cuts across all the borders in this conversation.
Oh, so?
Both Reem and John explicitly state that spending weekends visiting family or just spending time with family is crucial. It's part of their routine.
Why do you think that's so important, especially for, as we said, these seemingly high-achieving, ambitious young people?
Well, think about it. Professional ambition, especially in fields like computer science that Reem's pursuing, or the kind of global teaching field John is in.
Yeah, intense stuff.
It often involves really intense mental output, constant adaptation, pressure. Family, in that context, provides the non-negotiable anchor.
The stability.
Exactly. The stability, the unconditional connection. It allows them to sort of reset, maintain their emotional equilibrium outside of their demanding lives.
It's like the stable foundation that allows for greater risk-taking elsewhere in their lives.
That's a great way to frame it. That stability is paramount. The source material actually shows John routinely visits his parents on weekends. It's not just a spontaneous thing. It's like a structured part of his recovery routine.
Recovery routine.
Interesting. And let's not overlook the maybe small humanizing details that reinforce the importance of their home environment.
Like what?
Like their pets. Reem mentions her cat, Mimi. John talks about his dog, Max. These pets, you could argue, are extensions of that crucial home structure and stability. These seemingly small elements, when you combine them with the city descriptions, the language skills, they solidify a really detailed foundation for who these individuals are right from the start. #3, work, education, and professional purpose.
Okay, so with that firm grounding in their home lives, their personal roots, let's pivot now to the forward momentum.
Right, the structure of their professional purpose and maybe how they approach learning itself.
Exactly, the purpose part of our map.
Let's start with John, the English teacher. His role is fascinating because the way he frames his occupation, it's not just a task, is it?
No, not at all. He frames it with this really powerful intrinsic motivation. It seems rooted in connection and maybe empowerment.
Oh, so?
He explicitly says he loves meeting new people, loves sharing knowledge, and loves helping students improve not just their English, but crucially, their confidence.
Ah, the confidence piece. That's key. It really is. It moves his job description from, mere language instruction to something more like psychological enablement.
Confidence architecture.
Ah, I like that. Confidence architecture. Yeah. And that speaks to a potentially deeper fulfillment he gets from it.
His choice of method is interesting too, right? Online teaching.
Yeah, and that reflects modern adaptability. He enjoys online teaching, he says, because of the convenience and the ability to reach a wider, more global student base.
It ties back to his description of Toronto as diverse.
Exactly. And his dedication is underlined, I think, by his commitment to sometimes volunteering. He teaches free English classes to beginners occasionally.
See, that volunteering is a key indicator for me. It shows that his core drive connecting people, sharing knowledge, it operates even outside the boundaries of his paid employment.
Good point. It suggests it's more of a calling, maybe, than just a career path.
If we connect this back, as you said, to his Toronto Foundation defining the city by its diversity, it all just clicks, doesn't it?
It really does. His profession seems perfectly aligned with operating in a globally diverse environment. It requires him to be adaptable, culturally sensitive.
But teaching, especially language and confidence, it comes with significant emotional labor. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And he mentions that. He points out the specific challenge of dealing with shy or unconfident students.
What does he say about that?
He notes it requires real patience and deep encouragement. He acknowledges that the professional reward is tied directly to overcoming these, well, subtle but persistent interpersonal and emotional hurdles.
That makes sense. The barrier often isn't just grammar.
Absolutely. I mean, the greatest challenge in language acquisition often isn't comprehension at all. It's that barrier of self-consciousness, of feeling foolish.
So John's focus on confidence suggests he really gets that. His job is often more about being a motivator than, say, a grammarian.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's pivot sharply. Let's look at Reem, the computer science student. Very different world.
Very different, yes. Her purpose seems focused squarely on technical acquisition and future application.
She's doing high-level university study, finds her field really interesting, but she seems incredibly tactical about where she focuses her intellectual energy.
What do you mean tactical?
Well, the strategic choice of computer science itself is telling, isn't it? It aligns with high-demand, future-forward technical skills.
True.
But what's really illuminating for me is her willingness to articulate the specific roadblocks she faces. She doesn't just say, it's hard.
Right, she gets specific.
She specifically mentions finding some topics difficult, and she names algorithms.
Algorithms. Yes.
That is such a critical detail. Yep. Algorithms are like the abstract theoretical backbone of computer science.
They require deep, non-visual, logical thinking. Very demanding.
And kind of the antithesis of the soft and expressive nature she seeks in her relaxation activities, like her watercolor painting.
That's a fascinating contrast. Yeah.
So this tells us she is consciously pushing herself hard into what might be the most challenging cognitive territory for her.
And facing that difficulty seems to force her to develop a really sophisticated learning stack, a set of tools for learning.
What do you mean by learning stack?
We see a clear division in how she learns. She says she uses books for the deep theory.
Okay, traditional.
But relies heavily on videos for the practical things, specifically coding. She mentions recently completing a Python course online.
That's the hallmark of the modern strategic learner, isn't it? Mixing modes.
Absolutely.
Let's just dwell on that distinction for a second. Why videos specifically for Python, do you think?
Well, books can provide comprehensive step-by-step logic, sure. But videos offer rapid visual applied knowledge. You often see practical debugging happening in real time.
Right, you see how someone fixes a problem.
Exactly. For a technical application like coding, that visual applied nature of video learning probably allows for faster iteration and error correction than just reading text.
So it's a strategic choice based on the type of knowledge.
It seems like it. She's essentially saying, for the abstract concepts like algorithms, I need the formal structure of a book. But for rapid skill acquisition, like coding, I need the efficiency and the visual feedback of video tutorials.
She's optimizing the input method for this specific knowledge type. Smart.
Very smart. And her study preferences seem to reinforce this need for controlled, focused environments.
What does she say about that?
She prefers studying alone for focus. But she does acknowledge that group study is occasionally helpful, maybe for different perspectives.
Okay. Balanced view.
And she also explicitly notes the importance of taking short, deliberate breaks to keep her concentration sharp.
It sounds like she's embracing deep work principles, consciously or not.
It absolutely does. She understands that complex cognitive tasks, like grappling with algorithms, require that intense, uninterrupted focus.
Which means solitude.
Solitude and those structured breaks to prevent burnout and maintain quality of focus.
So when you contrast her intensely analytical study process with John's intensely relational teaching process,
you see two really strategic individuals optimizing their routines for maximum output in their chosen very different fields. They both seem to be masters of self-management in their own ways.
Okay, but with that level of intensity in both their professional and educational lives, the next question becomes, absolutely vital.
Which is?
How do they hit the reset button? How do they relax?
Ah, yes, the toolkit. This is where we examine that crucial counterbalance, because these ambitious pursuits, they require immense energy, right? So their hobbies and leisure activities, they aren't just mere pastimes. They function as essential tools for cognitive recovery, emotional regulation.
Okay, let's dive into Reem's creative side first, which, as we touched on, contrasts so sharply with her CS study. She loves painting, specifically watercolor, which she describes as soft and expressive.
Soft and expressive, the exact opposite of code logic.
Precisely. And she uses this activity strictly for relaxation. After studying or on weekends, it's compartmentalized.
And that is a perfect example of, let's call it, mental compensation.
Compensation.
Well, after spending hours wrestling with the rigid binary logic of coding, the abstract nature of algorithms, she gravitates toward an activity that is deliberately fluid, non-judgmental, focused entirely on color expression.
Watercolor is pretty low friction, too. Easy to start and stop.
Exactly. It's like a mental decompression chamber for her.
And she pairs that visual art with reading mostly fiction, novels, short stories. But crucially, she also mentions using writing as a cognitive tool.
Ah, the diary.
Yeah, she keeps a diary or writes short notes.
Yes.
And she explains that this process helps her organize her thoughts.
See, that diary writing, I think, is an explicit cognitive offload tool.
Cognitive offload.
Yeah. When you're studying complex, abstract mental models like those in computer science, the act of externalizing and structuring your daily thoughts, literally moving them from your brain's short-term memory cache onto a page, it frees up valuable mental bandwidth.
Bandwidth needed for the difficult technical work.
Precisely. It's strategic journaling, not just emotional venting.
Okay, that's Reem's toolkit. Now let's look at John's. It seems more, maybe, social, tangible.
Yeah, I think that's fair. His primary creative pursuit seems to be cooking, which he calls a useful skill.
Useful, practical.
He cooks a few times a week, loves trying new recipes. It shows his creative outlet is kind of results-oriented, and it often leads to shared experiences, like sharing a meal.
It's a tactile, outcome-focused creativity.
Yeah.
Very different from Reem's internal, expressive painting.
Absolutely. Cooking yields a tangible product, the meal, and often serves that social function. And the fact that he specifically mentions wanting to learn traditional Bangladeshi dishes, like biryani.
Ah, connecting back again.
It links his hobby directly back to his core driver, engaging with global cultures, diverse people. It's all interwoven.
He also plays the guitar a little, right?
Yes, adds another layer. Maybe more performance-based relaxation or just a different kind of focus.
Okay, what about media consumption? How do they filter information?
Well, they seem quite strategic here, too. Both lean toward fiction for pure escapism, which makes sense given their demanding days.
But how they consume it differs slightly.
Well, John reads a few books monthly, mixing fiction with travel books, but he makes a specific point of preferring physical books over online articles when he wants deeper knowledge.
Interesting. Why do you think he emphasizes the physical book?
That preference, I think, is a clear commentary on how they consciously manage information overload in a world saturated with digital, often ephemeral content.
Skimming headlines all day.
Exactly. John actively chooses the physical format for depth. He seems to be signaling a commitment to slower reading, sustained focus, when the goal is true knowledge acquisition. He reserves online articles, maybe, for just quick information hits.
And Reem, how does she approach reading?
Well, she enjoys books too, but she mentions preferring short stories for pre-sleep relaxation. Something lighter, more contained, perhaps.
Okay.
And this is key. She explicitly reads the news online for staying informed.
Ah, so a similar distinction then. Both use digital media for immediate knowledge news for her, maybe quick info for him, plus her coding videos.
Right, but they seem to gravitate towards physical media or contain fiction for cognitive depth and focused relaxation.
What about movies and TV?
Their entertainment choices seem to follow similar logic. Reem seeks light decompression. She favors romantic comedies and animated movies, mostly comedy. Pure, easy-to-digest joy and laughter.
Makes sense after tackling algorithms.
Totally. John may be needing a stronger contrast to the required patience of teaching shy students. He prefers action and comedy, sometimes drama, and he follows crime shows, TV series.
So a bit more intensity there, but still the comedy element.
Yeah, the essential shared ingredient seems to be comedy. Suggests they both prioritize laughter as a necessary mental release valve.
Okay, and the final layer of this toolkit, music. You mentioned this serves a dual purpose.
Yes, brilliantly so. Both enjoy it, of course. John likes rock and jazz. Reem prefers pop and soft music. Different tastes.
But the dual purpose.
Crucially, they both mention finding listening to English songs helpful for language practice.
Stacking activities again.
Exactly. What starts as maybe an emotional regulation tool, listening to soft music after a difficult study session, is cleverly integrated into their primary learning objective, language improvement.
Maximizing efficiency. Turning relaxation into passive language exposure. Very smart.
It really is.
Okay, we can't overlook physical activity, though. That's another crucial component of the toolkit, but they seem to manage it very differently.
Hugely differently, yeah. John's routine sounds quite high intensity and very outdoors focused.
What does he do?
He plays football regularly. He says hiking is one of his favorite activities, sees it as relaxing, great exercise, and a way to connect with nature. He exercises about 3 times a week. He seems to prioritize vigorous release.
Which makes sense, maybe, for someone whose job requires constant, sustained social and emotional energy output all day.
I think so, yeah. He needs to physically expel that built-up social tension, perhaps.
Reem's physical routine, however, sounds much lighter intensity. It aligns more with her preference for quiet spaces we saw earlier.
How so?
She says she enjoys watching football and cricket, but explicitly notes she's not good at playing. Spectator, not participant.
Yeah.
Her actual routine involves walking in the park, maybe some light jogging, and stretching. Much gentler.
Which is a perfect example of tailored well-being, isn't it? Reem doesn't seem to need that vigorous social energy release of football.
She needs something else.
Perhaps she needs movement combined with contemplation. Walking in the park allows for that continued organization of thoughts, which her diary writing starts, while still fulfilling the basic requirement for movement and fresh air.
So, despite the big differences in intensity,
their shared love for spending time outdoors and in nature parks, gardens, whatever, seems non-negotiable for both.
They both view it as highly relaxing.
Emphasizing that disconnect from the digital screen, the reconnection with the natural world, it's clearly a vital part of their mental maintenance schedule.
So this toolkit, it's not just random hobbies. It's complex, it's balanced, and it seems highly strategic, whether consciously or not.
Absolutely. It's custom built for their individual needs. #V, travel, language, and future horizons.
Okay, so once we understand their daily tools, their current rhythm, the natural next step is to look beyond the immediate, isn't it?
Right. Where is all this drive, all this structure actually leading them?
This is where we explore their horizon, what's driving them long term. It seems travel, language goals, and some pretty ambitious future visions are key here.
Definitely. And travel seems to act as this powerful near-term motivator for both of them, even though they approach it from different starting points.
How so?
Well, John has traveled quite a bit already. He mentions being to a few countries and specifically wants to visit Asia more. He loved Italy, citing its cities, food, history.
So he appreciates culture, deep context.
Seems like it. Reem, on the other hand, hasn't traveled outside Bangladesh yet, but it's clearly a powerful aspiration for her.
And directly linked to her professional goals, presumably.
That seems very likely, yes. So this difference in experience probably shapes their planning a bit, but the core motivation looks shared.
And that shared motivation is?
Centered on cultural immersion, especially through food.
Food again.
Yeah. John says he loves spicy food. Trying new things shows an adventurous palate. Reem emphasizes tasting local street food specifically.
So they both agree travel is like the ultimate classroom for culture and cuisine.
It certainly seems that way from their conversation.
What about the logistics of travel? How do they approach planning?
Also telling, they both say they prefer planning trips, which suggests, again, that need for organizational control, for structure.
Which we saw in Reem's study habits and maybe John's structured teaching approach too.
Exactly. But, and this is important, they both also appreciate spontaneity once the foundational plans are laid out.
So structure first, then flexibility.
Yeah, that seems to be the pattern. Structure provides security, spontaneity provides the excitement. It's a balanced approach, maybe essential for managing high stress, potentially high reward activities like international travel.
And who do they like to travel with?
Mostly friends. They find it more fun, better for sharing the experiences. So travel, for them, seems to remain a deeply social activity at its core.
Which aligns perfectly with their desire for connection, diversity.
And trying new foods together, probably.
Okay, and this brings us back powerfully to language acquisition again.
Yes, it's all connected. For Reem, English isn't just some academic subject she has to pass. It feels like a key.
A key to global mobility.
Exactly. She says she's learning English specifically to communicate globally and possibly work abroad. It's a calculated step toward realizing her future ambitions.
And her desire to learn French later just underscores that hunger for broad, useful communication tools.
It really does. And John, even as a native English speaker, maintains his commitment to language utility by wanting to learn Spanish on top of his existing French.
So they both see languages as incredibly useful tools.
Absolutely. Useful for travel, yes, but also for opening up countless professional and personal opportunities. Language, for both of them, seems viewed as a high-return investment, not just a skill.
Okay, now for maybe the climax of this section, their core future dreams. These are the driving forces that kind of validate all the current hard work, right? The studying, the teaching, the planning.
Exactly. This is the why. And Reem's vision is, well, it's a phenomenal synthesis of her core interests.
What does she hope for?
She wants to travel the world, naturally, improve her English further. And this is key work on interesting AI projects.
Artificial intelligence. That anchors her computer science foundation right at the cutting edge of global innovation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It positions her for maximum future relevance in the tech world.
But her aspirations don't stop at her career, do they?
No, that's also interesting. She also wants to get better at the tools she uses for relaxation. She mentions wanting to learn photography and become a better cook.
So it's a holistic ambition. Technical mastery and creative mastery side by side.
It seems so. And her choice of where she'd live for a year if she could. Highly symbolic, I think.
Where would she choose?
Japan. And her reasons. Culture, technology, and nature.
Wow. Japan is almost a perfect embodiment of her entire profile, then.
Isn't it? The rigorous advanced technology she studies, the emphasis on structured, respectful culture, and the natural beauty she seeks out for compensation and relaxation, it all fits.
Okay, contrast that now with John's vision. What's his long-term horizon look like?
His goals seem more focused on connection, education, and maybe creation. Legacy.
How so?
He wants to travel more, of course, continue teaching English, and potentially write a book.
A book? About what?
Either a travel memoir or an English teaching guide. This ambition seems all about distilling his experience, his knowledge, into a lasting, shareable format.
He also wants to try photography, right? To capture nature in cities.
Yes. Paralleling Reem's interest in visual arts, interestingly. Capturing the world he experiences.
The desire to write a book, especially for an educator, that feels significant.
I agree. It suggests a need, perhaps, to move beyond the day-to-day transaction of teaching individual students and consolidate his knowledge for a much broader audience. It shows a profound commitment to his field, I think.
And his choice for a year-long destination, where would John go?
Europe. Specifically Italy or France.
Back to Italy.
Exactly. He's leaning into the rich history, the deep culture, the world-renowned cuisine that he already admired during his previous travels.
Which aligns perfectly with his identity as this sort of cultural connector, a connoisseur of human experience.
It really does. So what this tells us, I think, is that their current jobs and studies, they aren't the end goal, they're stepping stones.
Stepping stones designed for specific, future-oriented outcomes.
Right. Reem seems to be training for global innovation, think AI in Japan. And John is leveraging his education background for cultural contribution and creative documentation, think writing, and Europe.
They both clearly see their present lives as active preparation for a much larger, more global existence down the road.
That's how it seems, yeah. Very forward-looking. #tag6. Synthesis and final thoughts.
Okay, it feels like time to consolidate these deep dive findings then. The real power of analyzing this structured conversation seems to lie not just in the explicit content, but in uncovering these subtle strategic decisions revealed about their daily lives.
Absolutely. And one of the most subtle, yet I think powerful insights comes from their contrasting internal clocks, their daily rhythms.
You mean when they prefer to work or relax?
Exactly. Reem, remember, the CS student engaged in that solitary, deep work. She prefers the quiet and productive mornings. She wakes early, 6:30 a.m., drinks tea. She seems to value the freshness and focus that the morning provides for her demanding tasks.
Right, whereas John, the teacher, whose job is much more relational, fairly social.
He prefers the relaxed evenings. Wakes a bit later, 7:40 a.m., fueled by coffee, not tea. And he finds evenings more conducive to unwinding after interacting with students all day.
That's a fundamental difference in chronotype, maybe. And certainly an energy management strategy.
I think so. Reem uses the morning quiet for intense cognitive loading. John uses the evening quiet for necessary decompression.
But despite that temporal difference,
they both actively prioritize quiet time, whether it's reading a book before sleep, listening to soft music, or just walking in the park. They demonstrate this non-negotiable commitment to focused recovery alongside their intense skill development.
So this whole deep dive, looking at their structured introductions, it really has shown that these comprehensive self-portraits, even when they're initially framed just for language practice, they reveal these core modern values, don't they?
They really do. We see the vital importance of family stability acting as that emotional anchor.
We see the deliberate compensating balance between specialized creative arts like Reem's watercolor or John's guitar playing.
And the necessary physical activity. Whether it's John's rigorous hiking or Reem's more contemplative walking, it's all part of a system.
Fundamentally, it feels like they're navigating the intense demands of the modern world through a really careful balancing act.
How would you summarize that balance?
Anchoring themselves in tradition, maybe family, physical books, while simultaneously aggressively pursuing future-forward skills, AI projects, global travel, online teaching platforms.
And they're actively filtering the flood of modern information too, aren't they? By assigning specific media and activities to specific cognitive goals. Videos for coding, books for theory, news online, short stories for sleep.
Right. It's all quite deliberate. The conversation between Reem and John, it basically provided us with every single element needed to understand their present motivations, their strategic choices, and their, frankly, powerful aspirations.
It really was, in effect, a comprehensive map of what success, or at least striving for success, looks like for the modern global learner and professional.
So we want to leave you, the listener, with this final thought for your own life mapping exercise, perhaps. The structure of their self-introduction forced Reem and John to prioritize their personal details. Not just what they do, but maybe hints of why they do it and how.
Right.
So if you were to map your own life using these exact same categories we discussed, location, job, or study, your personal toolkit for relaxation, and your horizon of goals and dreams.
What would emerge for you?
Exactly. What specific, maybe seemingly small details like your preference for high-intensity football versus quiet watercolor painting, or maybe your choice of coffee versus tea in the morning? What would truly stand out as the strategic defining characteristics of your current identity?
And perhaps more importantly,
how might the simple act of articulating those details, of seeing that map laid out, actually help shape or clarify your very next goal?
Because identifying those personal strategies, those patterns, that's really the first step toward optimizing them, isn't it? Towards building your own resilient system.
The challenging thought to end on.
Indeed. Thank you for joining